Good morning, folks. Unfortunately, it is a glorious sunny late winter's day. It's Saturday the 27th of August 2022, about 9 AM. I was hoping for some clouds in the sky. It's supposed to be partly overcast. If I show you, that is clear blue, and just clear blue as far as the eye can see from horizon to horizon. This is a backyard, so I'm looking sort of due north, and I'm standing about 2 metres from the lattice fence. It's about 9 metres in all. It comes complete with our pussycat over there somewhere. Can you see the cat? And so yeah, our yard's about 9 metres long, and about 8 metres wide by my calculation. We've got the standard hills hoist. That's obviously a replacement since the 2011 earthquake. A block of floor downstairs units here, single story, slightly offset to the neighbours. That's banana passion fruit struggling against the cold, using the hills hoist as a support, although most of the strings have broken now anyway. That took me like 12 years of trying to get some of that. They're not allowed to sell it because it might become a weed in some parts of native bush, despite the fact it's the more reliable passion fruit to grow in the South Island. But they'll only sell the tropical passion fruits, which 9 out of 10 of them die because they can't cope with these conditions. This wooden fence here, sorry about the flare from the sun, this wooden fence here is all a replacement. That was like a 100-year-old house, sort of, with a double brick fire resistant wall right up to the boundary, and obviously that double brick wall fell down during the 2011 earthquake. The lattice there with the neighbours. Late winter, so things just starting to get some leaves. See, I've got some pomegranates, treelings here in tubs, large pots, just starting to get some little growth buds. Temporarily, when there was no house next door and no fence, I put in a bunch of poplar cuttings because I could get them for free and just bung them in the ground. I knew from my past experience they'd grow with 99% reliability. When they replaced the fence, I just told the guys to chuck them all out. I put a couple in a pot, and one grew back from a piece of root, and I've cut it down a couple of times. I don't mind it if it's not too big. The point here I want to show, I've recently done some potting up. Some plants came out of 42 litre buckets, or tubs, the black tub at the back. You notice a huge amount of my plants are in blue plastic buckets. There's multiple reasons for this. If you go to a Bunnings or a garden or hardware store, plant nursery, and you want to buy roughly a 10 litre pot, it costs you about $8. A blue or black plastic bucket will resist the UV almost as much and last almost as long. They used to cost $1. They're now up to about $2.50 the last time I bought some. Just be careful. For the last several years I have not been able to buy replacement any more buckets from Bunnings. The only ones they sell have a pouring spout here, and that is fine if you're using them in the laundry to pour a bit of floor cleaner. If you want to drill holes in the bottom and use them as pots in the garden, that is a weak point and they will break there. Indeed, if you go and look at the Bunnings hardware store, many of the ones brand new are already broken there. And so the last time I had to buy plastic buckets, I had to pay $2.50 each for them at the warehouse, which is still cheaper than paying for dedicated pots. And when you use as many as I do, we got the Mexican cotton palm here in a, now that's a 100 litre tub, and there's a story to that, and that's a Trachycarpus fortunei, the Chinese windmill palm, and that's also in a 100 litre tub. A conifer, Haggerston Grey or Leighton's Green, I can't remember. They were on special at $2. It's been in that 10 litre bucket for many years. I can hear an alarm ringing in the background, it doesn't matter. Loquats, all seed grown by myself. As you see, there's well, there are even more than that in the pot. There's still about 7 alive. I think there was about 10 or 15 all over planted. They needed potting up last spring. This coming spring I'll pot them up, probably any day now. This is my, to a certain extent, nursery area, because they're protected by the brick to the south there, so that's the northern boundary of the neighbour's kitchen, and so it gets protection from the worst of the frosts there. Yes, I came across a supply of 200 litre food safe plastic barrels, and if you cut them in half you get 2 100 litre pots, and you can then drill holes in the bottom and you get effectively like a half a barrel size pot. That's a Cox's Orange Pippin, which is one of the old fashioned self-fertile apple trees. Keep in mind, some of the old varieties do have thorns. Thornlessness has been bred into apple trees for the ease of modern picking. Now, these were my single biggest, certainly in quantity, score ever. Certainly here in the 15 years I've been back in New Zealand, having moved from Australia. I got 116 little baby Trachycarpus fortunei, that's Chinese windmill palm seedlings, and 3 Bangalow, which is the Archontophoenix, the one from northern New South Wales, southern Queensland. So as you can see, I've put them 3 or 4 to a pot. So they're only as big as 2 or 3 blades of grass. Many of them still had the seed attached. It's sort of like a black pea. And so those ones in about 4 or 5 inch pots. Generally got about 4 per pot. And I had a number of what some people might call tubes, and I put sort of 3 together in each of them. This is just in case the cat, I don't want it sitting on there sleeping on them. Now this is my standout success, and I cannot get a good photograph of it. This was in Mexican cotton palm, Washingtonia robusta. It was not happy being constrained to a pot, even a 40 litre tub, and it was a central spike and 2 half dead fronds, and I planted that like 5 years ago, and it has gone gangbusters on drugs and overdrive as well. The apple tree I've dragged out from under it because it was getting absolutely covered by it, and I had several other Trachycarpus fortunei. I just recently got another 2 tubs, cut one up. This also is a sort of nursery of sorts underneath the washing line. In the back there, there's a heat pump unit. So obviously as a reverse cycle air conditioner, it blasts out cold air. In this climate, you use it as a heater 95% of the time. In summer, a couple of times I put it on for just a few minutes just to freshen up the air in the main living room on a hot summer's day, but really it's used as a heater in winter, and it blasts out cold air. So the palm nearest to it is this Trachycarpus fortunei, which has made very long leaf stalks, or petioles, or frond stalks, because of course it's being shaded by the cotton palm. And this one was planted a year before or so. I've got the cough in there, so I got it out of the way. So that was planted before, and it was far bigger and healthier, and yet the cotton palm has just gone absolutely gangbusters. There is an albizia. You can see the ferny type leaf there. It's nothing all up its trunk, and that's just in a 40 litre tub. It's not very happy with being in a tub. This table used to be my full sun table, although it still gets a lot of everything. Almost everything I have wants full sun, and things can't have it. The black buckets are brand new. So those things have just been repotted from smaller pots. Several of them I had to cut and bust the pots off. They were totally pot bound. I do tend to leave things too long and they get pot bound. Carob, I've grown these myself from seed. I don't know of any carob growing in Christchurch area or Canterbury. I'm being told there's some just outside Christchurch growing quite well. These have been grown outside right from seedlings, right from sprouting seeds. So they're, I believe I've got about 20 in there altogether. So the largest of them are in buckets, and the smaller ones are in smaller pots. I see some bits that look like they were killed off by frost. Here's some younger growth. Clearly that hasn't been killed off by frost, but it's possible it's some younger still growth. I was looking at some little bare patches earlier that could have been branches rubbing in the wind. If we look through here, and I have to stoop as I wiggle through. So this is a bootia, with the one that has the edible fruits, one of the many closely related bootias. That just came out of a 10 litre bucket pot, and it's gone into a 42 litre tub. The 42 litre tub was given up by this Trachycarpus fortunei behind it, as and it went into half a 200 litre drum, so 100 litre. Because I got over 100 in one day of these Trachycarpus fortunei, a bit of an experiment more than anything, I did dot a couple of the seedlings around the outside of that freshly repotted Trachycarpus. If they were to stay there for several years, then I guess it would have the appearance of a multi-trunk palm. You see we've got Loquat, biggest of them in buckets. Again, they're all seed grown by myself. Next door's an Aurelia, Japanese Aurelia is it? Fatsia japonica. And over the years it dropped seeds, and seeds sprout in pots, and they're such lovely looking little plants. Sometimes the plant in the pot dies and I just leave them to grow. Sometimes I pot them up and pot them on into other little pots. I do like the look of them. Hang on, I've caught up on myself. Just a point, I think I'll point this out. So here's a 4-inch pot, say, 100ml pot, with 4 little Trachycarpus fortunei seedlings. Now, just to be clear, I don't intend primarily to separate them when they get bigger. They may not all survive. If I later choose to separate them, I can just quarter it that way. And yes, I know all palms, well, no palms like having their roots cut, but many palms that I grow have to have their roots cut for various reasons, partly economies of scale of size that I have to deal with. I just have to restrict space. Things have to share. But really they could just stay there and become a bit like a multi-trunked palm if they were to later have somewhere to be planted out to. So that's the front, and yes, there's another Trachycarpus fortunei in the light green 42 litre tub at the back there. I bought several different colours when they were on special once, and to try to understand, to determine experimentally whether the black, the light blue or the light green lasted longer in sunlight. The light green is more shaded, to be fair. But I've traditionally just bought black, but they've not been on special that I know of for several years, so I haven't bought any more. Bunch of probably canary palms there. There used to be a lawn in a public garden, and they were sprouting the lawn or in the neighbouring rose garden. And if you got there with a pocket knife before the gardener, you could dig out sprouted seedlings. It always involves wrenching all the roots off. I've got some other palms which are definitely dactylifera, which is the African Arabian edible date palm, but that is they're like the little wrinkly blades of grass up at the back there somewhere. They again need to be, there's 10 or 15 in the pot, they need to be dug out and potted up individually. I know when they're young they look the same. As they get to about 2 feet high, if they got that sort of blue-grey look, then they're that's a dactylifera. These ones are still really green, so these are probably canariensis. But sometimes it's hard to keep track of what seeds you got where. The canariensis are just ones I bought fresh dates. You know, the $20 a kilo or $30 a kilo. I bought $5 worth in the supermarket and grew the seeds. Here's another little pot of umpteen, I don't know, what have we got in here, 10 or so Loquats grown from seed. Again, this could probably have been separated last year when they were much smaller, so that's going to involve quite a lot of wrenching and root trauma. No matter how kind I try to be, they're just overgrown in the pot for too long. I should have potted them up last spring, it didn't happen. And a few cacti of various kinds, partly as intruder deterrents, so that's why they're located at that location. Oh, and this doesn't count the fact that I sold off, a friend sold through Facebook about 15 plants last autumn. I had a quince tree in a 40-litre pot that didn't really like, you know, it needed a home to go to, it needed to be put in the ground, and a bunch of spear Aurelia Fatsia japonicas. I might call it quits here and we'll do one for the front. That's the, you can just see some cactus up there, cacti. They were just, I was given one pot with a couple of you know, sad looking ones from a neighbour, and I've kept trimming them from time to time and planting up the trimmings, so. Oh, and I will point out, this cabbage tree, there, when I moved in, that was like a little flax bush by a bedroom window, and I groomed it while it was young and kept it to just a single trunk because I wanted a sort of a palm tree look, and I kept doing that until it got to the stage where I could sort of sit on the roof and reach over to it to prune it. I'd actually like to cut it down now, but it's I'd need to clear out all of that plant connection and put it somewhere and you know, fell it into the backyard, so would be a difficult job to get rid of now. It's a shame because I really count on every little ounce of sunlight and heat that I can. We're here in Christchurch, 43 degrees south latitude, so I want maximum sun all year round as much as I can. That's why I did keep it going up to a single trunk with just a tuft on top, but you can actually see the side branches now. Once it got higher than I could deal with it, above the, you know, from being on the roof, sort of sitting or crouching there, reaching over to it, I couldn't really manage it. They bifurcate. They every time they put out a flower stalk, they split into two, and their head at the top gets denser and denser. But that was the look I wanted. I would just prefer to have the sun that it's blocking. That being due north, so that's the northwest angle. And you see that the although there's sort of no trunk yet, I guess you'd say, the just the leaf stalks and the fronds, the cotton palm, Mexican cotton palm, was 2 feet above, half a metre above the height of the guttering there at its peak. That I'm happy for it to develop a trunk and get up and put its tuft of leaves on top, and the same too with the Trachycarpus. They only have a very small head, they don't block out much sun. So that's all. So that's my haul from yesterday. And in the bathroom I've got 3 Bangalow palms inside. They would certainly need to be kept totally indoors for the first several years in the winter part of the year. Come late spring I'll be able to put them out until autumn. Because really, these bootias, even those ones, they've been potted up into 10-litre buckets. That's easily the size it could go straight into the ground. And if they're in the ground, they could fruit in another 2 years, even in this climate. A year to get themselves going, and they'll fruit at a young age in the ground, well before they've got a full-size crown of leaves. So bootias are a great palm with edible fruit for temperate regions with no more than too much frost. They certainly grow them in America and I think Vancouver, but they call it a pindo palm there. That loquat that's a bit sad is in a 40-litre tub. That's one of my originals. It's gave me the first fruits last year, about 4 of them. That's a mogi. Almost all of my fruits from loquats have been off of a bought plant, a grafted one, a kusanoki. So for this climate I would recommend kusanoki. Get yourself one grafted. If you can only have one, get one grafted plant that you have to pay a fortune for. And most of mine are seedlings off of that, or off of the very few loquats that are around the place.